Hey guys, I got something very excited for you today. Today I'll be presenting the free-player basic strategy guide. A little follow-up to the new edition. We've got a great Pistolero guide for free-player for old edition. I disagreed with some parts in the end, and here I'm presenting like the basic scope. This is not an 160-page guide like it was before. This is some basics, and I have a small surprise at the end for you. Hopefully you enjoy this. I've been working for it for 4 months now, so that should be pretty decent. And it's all for new edition. So first, let's talk basic strategy. The first that comes to mind, and we got it from the Pistolero guide before, red. Basically, I can sum up Pistolero guide if I would to sum up Pistolero guide in one sentence, it would be winning red by the end of H2. That's one of the brilliant discoveries that he made before, and that shaped up the old edition meta. It's not so true anymore, but it's still very relevant. So going red means winning red at the end of stage 2. That's a very H2. That's a very important distinction. Then we have green, and going for green, I don't think anyone has ever categorized it, so I will try to. I will say having at least 2 greens by the end of H1, or having at least 5 greens by the end of H2. So that would be kind of mine going for green. You can do it with less, but usually that is the indication that you are going for the green strategy. And the other one, like the odd one out, I would say that's very hard to strategize. I will just go through bullet points. Denying key resources to other players, that's one of the like unorthodox strategies. Blue rush H1, now in the new edition, that's something that we have available for us. And then winning cheaply against green opponent, by that using 1 or 2 cards to win red, basically racing red against someone who doesn't play for red. And the last one is stealing points from red winner. Usually those are blue points, so just trying to, starve the red player out if you are before him in the pecking order. Let's look what makes free players so special. There are 3 red cards per age. That's very important. So if everyone plays 1 card per age, everybody draws with each other. That's not the case in any other player count. There are 3 to 4 to 5 green cards in ages 1, 2, and 3. All have the same spreads. There are 4 of each type. And there are generally no duplicates in free players, and not all cards are in the pool. There is fewest brown per player, so brown resources are very important, but there is a lot of gray. It's almost like the most gray per player. So gray is like easy to come by, and if anyone builds gray and like any resource, everybody has access to it all the same. Also, most guilds per player, most green per player, and most blue points per player. So that means that you can get really high scores in these, and you can kind of rely on some guilds kind of getting to you if they are in a pool, of course. Let's first focus on like the usual examples that you will encounter in your games. So we normally on this channel, and the top players usually talk about green and red wonders. What does that mean? You are a green wonder if you're interested in playing green. That means that you can potentially be Halicarnassus, which is great at playing green, Ephesus, which is great at playing green, Alexandria, which is good at playing green, and Babylon, which is excellent at playing green. Those are 4 green wonders. Of course, you can pursue non-green strategy, but you can pursue green strategy with them. It's much harder with Giza, Rhodos, and Olympia, but it can be done as well. I will talk about that later. And the red wonders are usually wonders that specialize in fighting and in military and have easy access to this. Those are, for example, Rhodos and Olympia. Those are actually good green red wonders, but you can actually be. It's much easier to become a red wonder than become a green wonder. So this slide is all about what you are doing and how the things will shape up if you have like 2 of the green strategy and 2 of the red strategy in some cases. So the arrow dot that's pointing, that's you. And that's what I'm trying to say. What will happen if you play like this? So in this situation, when your left opponent is green and you are green, this is actually not bad because in the second round you'll be able to steal the green cards. And the second round is when the green is most important, because green have very easy cost in age 1, pretty easy cost in age 2, and they chain. But for the third age, they become more expensive, so you need to rely on those chains. So you need to get greens in the second round. Red player here is probably going to win in this scenario. So overall, not the best. Here, this is a travesty, I would say. Usually, if you go like this, so red, green, green. This is like the worst thing that can happen to you, because he will steal all the greens in the second round. You will not win red, so you kind of have to, balance. You cannot just go all in on green in this scenario, unless you think that you can block this guy from going green in the first round enough, but probably you can't. This looks pretty bad. The third scenario, now the same principle that applies to green applies to red also. Remember, we want to win red by h2, by the end of h2. So in the second round, we are blocking the red guy. This is a scenario that's actually pretty good, and this is the reason why the 3 is the reason why the first scenario can look like it does. So here, actually, the guy in the first scenario to our left, he can be interested in going green, so he can actually win against the green person. That's like the strategy, the meta that you think at the start of the game. And the last one, basically you are the guy from the third picture, so you are kind of sad. So the odd numbers are pretty good, and the even numbers are kind of bad. Now let's talk about maybe more weird strategies also. When you do not double the strategy with other player. Here we triple in all 3 green strategies. Usually those are very fun games, to be honest, and they are decided by red, or if they still tie on red, they are decided by the wonder. For example, usually Giza does well in those scenarios, but the first scenario is very rare. The second one, this is a carbon copy of the first and the second one. You are a red guy. This is what you want. You will win a lot of games like this, and this will happen a lot because green is even stronger than it was before, and it's actually very playable, and it's actually probably a top strategy. The red wars, everybody going for red. This is a scenario where actually Rhodos is pretty good. And this is a scenario where Giza is pretty good. Other than that, a green splash can save those games usually. So this is pretty interesting. And the fourth one, this is simply winning. I think the new edition changed. Previously, it was still the better of the red guys won this scenario. Now it's heavily into green player favor. So both of the red players need to basically stop green a lot. And by stop, I mean bury cards for the green player. Okay, but enough about strategy. Let's talk about picks. So, for the first era, still 2 cards are very, very important. Remember when I talked that there is not enough brown in these games? There isn't. So the duels are very, very good. Those are 2 best cards. Probably Clay Pit is still better than Timberyard. So Clay and Ore is better than Wood and Stone, just because Stone is so not needed for most of the cards. But still Timberyard is an excellent card. out of the players will be able to play the duels, and usually they will. Then let's talk about more good picks. So obviously all the greens, like the slide would be too big, but by the scriptorium I mean all the greens for the green player are good, and the same is for the stockade. All the reds are good for the red player. Usually you don't want to play 3, but you can play 2, and 1 is very needed if you want to continue your red push. One thing that has changed is that, as you can see here, Temple that chains into Pantheon, so a 7-point card in the 3rd age, is actually very, very good. The single wood is actually one of the best resources for several reasons. It's not only good for the red player. I have it marked as a red because it's very important for 2 of the red cards that we will see in the age 2. I will talk about them later, but also for the school that we will see for the green player. And there is a reason why I have a scriptorium highlighted. It's still the easiest to go for the tablets, just because there are 2 tablets in H2 and only 1 of compass and cog in H2. And the last card is actually very important for the same reasons for the green player. This enables you scriptorium, this enables you school, so it's actually one of the best cards for the green, and it's actually better than the battle. But battle is similarly good if you need to play for green. For the bad picks, I have all the gray cards for the red player or like non-grid player. You should totally avoid them. I would say even if they are on your wonder, you shouldn't play them H1. And that's very important. They are a trap. This is like too much. You shouldn't play them just because they give you nothing H2, like almost nothing. Unless you are interested in playing green, they can only be good for you in the H3. Usually this is a waste and you are enabling the green player access to some resources. I would say don't do that. Like if you are green, sure, go for it, but if you are not, it's very, very risky. Buffs, they chain into Aqueduct, but they are still pretty bad, and I always forget the name. I think it's Theater. It's okay, like those green cards, if you can pick them up, like buffs for free and the other one, it's always free. They are okay, but I wouldn't like go out of my mind for pursuing them. Sometimes you can get all 3 or like 2 out of 3. Like whenever you chain them with Pantheon, they are usually pretty good. But without them single-handedly, probably better to focus on resources, and almost always better to focus on red, because it will give you more points than those 3 points to get a single red card. Let's go to H2. 3 very, very important cards. Those are like the 3 staples that you should always be prepared for. And by prepared, I mean your resources need to be prepared. Or you have to have a free build. So first, let's say Caravanserai gives you a free resource. There is a scarcity of brown resources. This is why this is so important. You need 2 wood, or you need to have, I always forget the name, the one that gets you cheaper gray cards. So this is very, very important for some wonders. Then we have 2 red fights. As you can see, they both use wood, and like all triple cards use wood. So that's why wood is like the most important resource H1. 2 of them use ore as well, so ore is pretty good, and 1 of them uses clay. As you can see, there are no woods on them, so that's why wood is the least important resource usually. Then we get into very good cards as well, but not that great. Obviously, like maybe not that great, but not that defining for the meta. School is very important for the green strategy. As you can see, it also costs wood, and press and the papyrus, so that's why it's important. The double stone is very important for some wonders. I had to have it highlighted, and also it enables you to build the third card with walls, which costs 3 stone. That's why I have this instead of walls, because from age 1 none of the wonders except for Giza will be able to build the walls. Very important card, probably the most important duel actually, because stone usually is in large quantities, while wood, as you can see, is a single or a double. Other relevant cards, as you can see here, the walls. There is also the forum, which is important, but I would say most of the time it's a trap. If like usually you should be able to count how much you will need this. It doesn't give that much, as much as you think, I would say, most of the time. But sometimes it's very, very important, and you need to be aware that the card is in the pool, and you should probably track it. The last one that I have is a vineyard. You might be surprised, but if you play a lot of free player, you know this is the only card that gives gold. The only one. Usually you have access to tavern. Usually have with expansions have access to a lot more other cards. In free player, this is a closed economy. If you pay someone, he's your neighbor. You know there is no trades going other than free players, like free neighbors with themselves. So getting additional money to the pool is important, and it's important what you do with the money. But I would say a lot of the time, because there is not many brown cards, Vineyard is not that tasty. And be careful, because sometimes it's better to throw, get rid of some good cards instead of play like a 4 gold or 5 gold Vineyard. You'll just getting 2 gold more, and you could have destroyed like one of the better cards for your opponent. For the below average picks, I don't have much to explain here. It's basically gray is overrated, I would say, generally, and you had the ability to buy them in age 1, now you are buying them in age 2. That doesn't seem so smart. Obviously, if you are stuck on your wonder or something, maybe you need to refill. But actually, you will have more time to refill here than in age 1. So they are below average, but they are not trash. I would say if you can, avoid them, but sometimes do this. Then for the third age, I think it's usually very easy to count, so I didn't want to do like a first pick or something. Pantheon is important, all I can say. And because Pantheon can now be free very easily, I would say that that's the reason why free grays are not that important anymore. And here are the cards that are very, very important. There will be much more blue, so the blue guild now is much better. The 7-pointer for finishing wonder, it's just an amazing, amazing guild. It's much cheaper than Pantheon. Usually you'll be building this versus 2 green or even 1 green player. The green guild is excellent, and of course the real green guild, the supporting green guild, the philosophers one, is also a huge support. Getting a free chain, free symbol is everything basically in those games. So if you are a green player, as you can see, this is again the stuff that you need to prepare for. Again, there is papyrus. Again, there is stone. Again, here is the stone, and as you can see, there are 3 cloths, 2 papyruses, and no battles. So that's something to think about also when you think about the resources. And then we get into the surprise. I've got a tier list for you, so let me get a couple of caveats out of the way. First season of the new version, so ratings still may change. It's very possible to beat the best wonder with the worst wonder. That's, I really mean it. I've won a ton with like the worst wonder of my list, and I've lost, and I've even been last with some at the very top. And it's still better to be in the opposite strategy, of course, and the quality of cards is more important than the wonder, but of course we still want to raid the wonders. That's what we are all about. So let me tell you about the methodology. Basically, I thought about if I was able to queue for some of the wonders, which would I choose? Because it's very hard to compare like win rates, because we do not get the best stats. It's very hard to like go off the gut, because what really is the gut, how to quantify it. So I went with like, if I had the option to queue with the wonders, which one would I choose? Write them down, and it was actually pretty easy from there for me. So let's go. First one, no surprise there. Halicarnassus, and as you can see here, I highlighted which one, which strategy should you pursue. I highlighted some key cards. I highlighted how I feel about the balance of the wonder. You can see which side I would play, and here are some notes. So red and green from the discard, that's the main advantage. Very low resources for the first and second stage. The third you usually don't build, but sometimes you do. And the most important thing that makes Halicarnassus really, really great, and I think a little too great, it's one of the few wonders that I'm unhappy with the balance, is that the Papyrus in free player is so amazing for Halicarnassus. This is one of the wonders that I would consider not going for the duel out of the gate. So if you see a Papyrus and there is no Ephesus in the game, you might be able to go for it. So overall, great wonder, not unbeatable by any means, but just something not so fun to play against because of the building from discards. So you feel like you never want to play red versus them because of the third era shenanigans and stuff like that. Overall, great wonder, the one that I would queue. Everyone is happy always to play Halicarnassus. That's when you know that it's a very good wonder. Just because I said that I was unhappy with the balance, my balance changed, if you really want to know, is that I would add 1 clay to the first stage, or get rid of the points on both of the first stages. Let's go into number 2, and number 2 is Ephesus. One thing that's working in Ephesus' favor is also that it kinda takes away from the power of building the press for Halicarnassus, because it has press already in the pool. Both sides are playable. I would say pick the one that you feel more comfortable with, because both of them are great. Money generation, the only wonder except for Rhodos that has money generation, but here the money generation is much better. Very low resource cost, just solid wonder. Can do both green and red. Usually is better suited for green, but don't sleep on the red stuff with this. Very important to get any trading post with it. But other than that, just great wonder. Trading posts are not usually the most sought out cards in the first round. So usually you are able to get away with it. And if you are not, they are pointing some stuff, you just get the resources. You can live without the trading post as well. The next one, this might surprise you. This is actually Giza, and the reason recently, if you follow this channel, I played more Giza B, and I used to play more Giza A, and I still think it's playable, but just I wanted to highlight that I would recommend to go B for the night side, but if you feel comfortable for the 8 side, it's very playable as well. But this was the worst wonder for free players, both by me and Pistolero in the old edition, so that's a very big change. Usually you play this as red, and there are 2 key cards, Caravanserai. This enables you to do some crazy stuff, especially on the night side, and the double stone if you don't get Caravanserai. Excellent wonder. Its strength comes from stone actually being weak, so you need a lot of stone. You can actually get the stone because people are not interested in the stone, but you have so much stone that you can actually build walls. That's one of the reasons that you can succeed. Also, a lot of people are doing green now. There are much less games where there is no green, so you are great at combating green, and you have more like time for yourself. So you can actually, develop, just do semi-green. This is the best wonder for the odd strategy. Hard to be last with, and you will win a lot of games with it. So that's why it's my number 3. Giza, and those and the 3 that I would queue with, but it doesn't mean that other wonders are bad, but this would be my preferred choice to play, and I'm always happy to see that. The one downside is that it's kind of weak against Rhodos, but not as much as you would think. Then we got into Babylon, and probably a lot of players, like top players watching this, would be like, what? Babylon so low? This is from experience. Like, I've had so many fails as Babylon. I actually think that both sides are playable, but I can't honestly recommend to someone new watching to play the A side. The A side, I think it's much more challenging to play. You have to have like a really good knowledge about the game, then you can play it. But if you have that much knowledge, you probably don't need this guide. That's why in this guide I just put the night side. Usually you play green, but you can do some stuff in red as well. You start with wood. That's amazing. This side looks great, but the problem is that you do not have enough space. You actually run out of cards to play. But there are some tricks that I can show you, and they're already on the screen. The single stone is actually pretty important because you can easily build the first side. And actually the battle is important. And both of those cards are not really sought out by other players, so you kind of get it for themselves a lot of the time, and that's pretty nice. Number 5. And here the top players already left when they saw this slide, and this is tier 3. So the next 3 ones, that was the hardest choice for me. I decided to go with Olympia because I feel the most comfortable out of those 3, but it's really close with the next one. I feel the most comfortable. I usually play the night side, but you can totally play the A side, especially if you expect that someone, like for example, you have Halicarnassus to your left, that would be left, to your left, and you expect them to go heavy green and pass you the timber yard, for example. Then the A side, the day side, looks pretty tempting. Here, this is like pretty low resource, some economy going forward, like cheeky economy, but it helps with the brown shortage. You can usually win brown wars, win red wars, sorry, and maybe hide some key resources. There is a lot of room for creative play. The clay that you start with aligns with one of the red cards, so it's all good. It's actually a pretty stable wonder. I think it's hard to be last with it sometimes. Then we go into Alexandria. As much as I like Alexandria Day, unfortunately, the night side is better. It got nerfed heavily, I would say, but it's still okay. What I can say is that you should try to maybe play more of the just first stage. I usually play a lot of games where I build just the first stage. It's also very good in green, so you will get games with like Rhodos and Olympia, for example. And then you are Alexandria and you are very, very happy. But it's a tricky wonder to play as well. I just think it's just below Olympia, but they're very, very close. And that leaves us with the last wonder, the one that I'm unhappy with the balance. And you will be like, what? Colossus? That's 3 players all about the red. Yes, but against good players, you will be blocked on stone. That's why I have double stone highlighted here. and Caravanserai, you actually have to play so much stone just to be able to build your stuff. Sometimes I wonder if that's even worth it, or should I just forego playing for anything. But then, like, still that's the worst wonder, because you are just not playing your wonder. So not a fan. Rhodos has the lowest control of the game. It's very easy blocked, cannot block himself. Basically, you're kind of stuck in your ways. There is not, like, you can play Green Colossus from time to time, for example, or like Splash Colossus. But those are usually just things that happen to you, not that you plan yourself. Just because your plan is like so predictable, so set in stone, that against set in stone. Oh, I didn't even see the irony in that until now. So, you know, just not a fan. Like, honestly, if there was an ability to queue on Board Game Arena, I would try to queue with all 6, like all 7 except Colossus. Probably. I couldn't stand like playing, for example, 10 games in a row of Rhodos, just because they are usually the most same-ish, I would say. Maybe I'm just wrong and I need to discover something, but right now, as I stand, Rhodos is the worst one, and that's the second wonder that I'm unhappy with the balance. Honestly, I would just like to see the A side buffed. I'm not really. This is a good side for beginners, I would say, but I'm not very happy with how it shapes up for more experienced players. And with that, I would like to end this video. Let me know what you guys think. I've been working hard on this, so I will appreciate all the information what I can do better in the future. And until later, see you.